Hello, revolutionaries. What if they gave an election and everybody came? This is spectacular. Thank you, Dallas. Just makes me happier than a flea at a dog show to be standing up here looking at all you Bernie Eastas. What a joy it is for me to be able to introduce a longtime friend who's truly running a revolutionary campaign going right at the plutocratic, autocratic, kleptocratic corporate powers in this country. Going at the power elites who are knocking down the middle class and holding down the poor in our country. And when I say the powers that be, I'm talking about the downsizers and privatizers. I'm talking about the big oil frackers and Walmart wage whackers. I'm talking about the bosses, the bankers, the big shots, bastards and bullshitters who think that. It takes a big politics to undo their power and to renew the people's power in high office again and to reclaim our democracy. And Bernie is building a grassroots movement, not only that can win, but then can bring us all inside so we can govern from inside by bringing the outsiders inside. That's the way it's going to work. I grew up right up the road in Denison, Texas. It's a small town. I was a little guy. And I learned early on that you should never hit a man with glasses. You should use something much heavier. And the heavy thing that we have are you, the people themselves, to bring political power back to the grassroots. So let's do it. Let's take power from the Wall Street greedheads and the Washington boneheads and make the difference. I was campaigning for Bernie when he first ran for Senate up in Vermont, and a guy came up after a rally wearing a big political button. It was the best one I've ever seen. It said, "Wearing a button is not enough. We can't be a nation of button wearers. We've got to go to work between now and next Tuesday and put Bernie in the White House." That's our historic duty. So here he is, a true fighter, a true democracy, the people's president, Bernie Sanders.
Thank you, Dallas. This is a large, loud, and raucous crowd. And let me just thank Warren Tenney and Farouk Shamsi, Domingo Garcia, and Marissa Marquez, and the Jesse Fry Band. And let me also thank somebody who was been a friend of mine for decades, your very own Jim Hightower. Well, it looks to me, as I look around this huge that is the power of Saturday Night Live. What can you do? It looks like Dallas is ready for a political revolution. And let me tell you, so are a lot of people all across our great country. We began this campaign 10 months ago. We were at about 3% in the polls. We had no money, we had no political organization, and actually outside of Vermont, nobody knew who we were. Other than that, we were in pretty good shape. And we were running against a candidate who is one of the best known people in America, somebody who had run in 2008, and somebody who has a very powerful political organization and the support of the entire political establishment in the Democratic Party. But it turns out that it is one thing to have the support of the establishment. It is another thing to have the support of the people. And a funny thing happened over the last 10 months, and that is we started off in Iowa where we were 50 points behind when we began. We ended up in a virtual tie. We started off in New Hampshire. We were 30 points behind and we won. We started off in Nevada way down, ended up losing by 5 points. We'll see what happens in South Carolina. And then we're here on Tuesday in Texas. And as you all know, Texas will be electing more delegates than any other state on Tuesday. And as I look around, we had a great rally in Austin this morning. This is just fantastic. So I think we have a surprise coming for some people on Tuesday. You know, what Jim Hightower was saying is absolutely right. Democracy is not a football game. It is not a spectator sport. All of you are enormously powerful people if you choose to use your power. And as Jim was saying, what we are attempting to do in this campaign is not only elect the president, that's obvious, but to do something even more important, and that is to revitalize American democracy, to create a situation where working class people and low income people and young people come together and demand that we have a government which represents all of us. I don't have to tell anybody here that that is not the case today. In Washington, the Congress is much more interested in representing wealthy and powerful campaign contributors than the needs of ordinary Americans. And that is turning that around, creating a democracy in which the needs and the pain of the American people are heard. That is precisely what this campaign is about. And the reason reason that we are doing as well as we are is because we're doing something very radical and unusual. We are telling the truth. And the reality is that the truth is not always pleasant to hear. But if we are to go forward, and if we are to transform this country, it is important that we in fact talk about the reality of what's going on. And what is going on in America today is we have a corrupt campaign finance system in which billionaires are trying to buy elections. And that is why together we are going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. And why we are going to move toward public funding of elections. Now here is what this campaign is about, is thinking big, not small, thinking outside of the box. Here's one idea I want you to appreciate. Today in America, we have one of the lowest voter turnout rates of any major country on earth. And there are reasons for that. I understand the reasons. A lot of working people who are hurting can barely take care of their families. They look to Washington and they don't see anybody there paying attention to their needs. But what I want to do, with your help, is create a nation in which we have a vibrant democracy and one of the highest voter turnout rates, not one of the lowest. And by the way, when we do that, and as we do that, we are going to take on all of those governors and all of those legislatures who are trying to suppress the vote in the United States. Now, in a democracy, people can disagree, but what a governor or a legislature cannot do is try to make it harder for people to vote because they may vote against you. That is political cowardice, and I say to all of those governors and all of those legislators, if you don't have the guts to participate in a free and fair election, get another job, get out of here. But it's not just a corrupt campaign finance system and a democracy that is not working as well as it must. It is also a rigged economy. It is an economy where the average person in Texas or Vermont is working longer hours for lower wages, while almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%. So you want to hear a radical idea? Yeah. All right. Together, we are going to create an economy that works for working families and the middle class, not just the 1%. But it is not just a corrupt campaign finance system and a rigged economy. It's more than that. It is a broken criminal justice system. In America, we should not be having more people in jail than any other country on earth. And the numbers, the people who are in jail are disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native American. So together, we are going to bring about major reforms in this broken criminal justice system. Now, I think the reason that our campaign is doing so well and has so much momentum is that we are listening to the American people, not wealthy campaign donors. I go around the country, and this is what I hear. I hear from workers who say, Bernie, I can't make it on 8, 9, or 10 bucks an hour. And you can do the arithmetic as well as I. Nobody can make it on 8, 9, 10 bucks an hour for yourself, but certainly not to raise a family. The federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. And together we are going to raise that minimum wage to a living wage, 15 bucks an hour. What America should be about is that if you work 40 or 50 hours a week, you do not live in poverty. And I know that every man in this room will stand with the women and fight for pay equity for women. Go around the country, and as we listen to the women, what they are saying is, we do not want the government to control our bodies. I know I will not shock anybody here to tell you that in politics there's a lot of hypocrisy. I know you're all shocked to hear that. But this one really is at the highest levels of hypocrisy. You got Republicans running all over the country. They hate the government. They want to get the government out of our lives. They want to cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and veterans things. They hate the government. Except when it comes to the right of a woman to make an important decision in her life, then they want the government to make that decision. That, brothers and sisters, is hypocrisy at the highest level. As we go around this country, we listen to senior citizens and disabled veterans. And what the seniors and disabled vets tell us is they cannot make it on $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. And the truth is that nobody can make it on $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. Now, my Republican colleagues, they think that we should cut Social Security benefits. Well, I've got some bad news for them. Not only are we not going to cut Social Security benefits, we're going to expand Social Security benefits. Go around the country, we listen and talk to our brothers and sisters in the African American community. And they are asking why it is that when we turn on a TV, we see videos of unarmed African Americans being killed by police officers. They ask why it is that when blacks and whites use marijuana at about equal levels, why does it turn out that blacks are 4 times more likely to be arrested for possession of marijuana than whites? And they ask why it is that in many of their communities, the police departments look like occupying armies. Now, I am a former mayor of the largest city in Vermont, and I've worked with police there for many years. Vast majority of police officers are honest and hardworking. But, that's right, and it's a very difficult job, and it's not an easy job to be a cop today. But when a police officer, like any other public official, breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. And our campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. And what they are saying is they are working really, really hard, often at very low-wage jobs. They are tired of living in the shadows. They are tired of being afraid that their families can be torn apart. They want, and I want, comprehensive immigration reform. And a path toward citizenship. And I agree. And if the Congress does not do its job and pass comprehensive immigration reform, as President of the United States, I will use all of the executive authority in my power. My father came to this country at the age of 17 as an immigrant. I know a little bit about the immigrant experience. Our job is to unite families, not divide families. Now, I want to take a minute talk about this campaign to just highlight some of the differences that exist between myself and Secretary Clinton. I am very proud to come before you and tell you that I do not have a super PAC. I do not represent Wall Street or corporate America or the billionaire class. We do not want their money, don't need their money. Secretary Clinton has raised many millions of dollars from Wall Street and the drug companies. And like every elected official who raises a lot of money, She says, well, it's not going to influence me, but I want everybody to ask themselves a very simple question. Why are... Hold on.
Where are the transcripts?
You could say a whole lot about Wall Street, and I will, but these guys may be operating illegally, they may be reckless, they may be greedy, but they are not dumb. All right? So you have to ask yourselves, as do the American people, why is it that Wall Street pours billions and millions of dollars into the Clinton campaign? And second of all, it seems to me that if you're going to give speeches behind closed doors, to Wall Street groups like Goldman Sachs, and if you get paid, and if you're going to get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for that speech, it must be a great speech, and you want to share it with the American people. Secretary Clinton said she will make her transcripts available if others make their transcripts available. I am the other. I'm making my transcripts available. Get on it. Now, the majors, all of you know, foreign policy is a very important part of what a president does and what Congress does. The most important foreign policy decisions have been made in this country for many, many years regarding the war in Iraq. Now, I was in the House representing Vermont in 2002. I listened very carefully because when you're dealing with issues of war and peace, all members of Congress listen carefully because they know that it'll be kids in their own state going off and maybe not coming back. So I listened very carefully to what Bush had to say, to what Cheney had to say, what Rumsfeld had to say. I did not believe them. I led the opposition to go into war. It gives me no pleasure to tell you that if you go to my website, berniesanders.com, read what I said in 2002 about the fact that it's easy to overthrow a tyrant like Saddam Hussein. It is a lot harder to predict what will happen the day after. And what happened the day after, as all of you know, and is happening today, has been an absolute disaster. Hillary Clinton heard the same evidence that I did. She voted for that war. Now, when we talk about why the middle class in America has been disappearing for 30 years, why so many working class people have fallen into poverty, there are a number of reasons, but one of those reasons is our disastrous trade policies. Now, the media does not really talk about trade. They're not interested in trade, and it's not a sexy issue, but it is a very important issue. When I was elected to the Congress in 1990, shortly after, I helped lead the effort against NAFTA. And I went to, and by the way, NAFTA has been a disaster not only for workers in the United States, but for workers in Mexico as well. And this I will never forget. I went on a trip to the Maquiladora area in Mexico, and that's a special zone where they give tax breaks to corporations who move in that area. And I went and I visited many of these brand new, beautiful, state-of-the-art factories. And then I went to visit the workers. And I wish I could tell you that I went to visit them in their homes, but they did not have homes. They were living literally, the workers that I saw, in cardboard shacks, making then 25 cents an hour. Truth is that since 2001, we have lost 60,000 factories in America and millions of decent paying jobs because corporate America has said, why do I want to reinvest in Texas or Vermont in America when I can go to some cheap labor country abroad and then bring my product back to the United States? I have helped lead the effort against all of these disastrous trade policies. Secretary Clinton supported NAFTA, supported permanent normal trade relations with China. She was wrong, I was right on those trade issues. Now, when we talk about why the American people are angry and why there is so much frustration in this country, it has a lot to do with the fact that the American people look out. They are working longer hours for low wages, and what they are seeing is that 58% of all new income generated in America is going to the top 1%. They are looking out and they see that the top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. And they see the 20 wealthiest families in this country now owning more wealth than the bottom 50%. That is 150 million Americans. Now, I want to tell you a story about what the rigged economy means. Turns out that the wealthiest family in this country is the Walton family of Walmart. They own, as one family, more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. One family. Now, this is what a